G'day everyone, it's SDS SuperCoach providing SuperCoach content for you. I'm here to present the second part of our top eight defenders with SuperCoach Edge again with Dazzler once again. But long time no speak. It's been about what 15 minutes. I know it's been a
Yeah,
while.
if that, yeah, long time no speak, isn't it? Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
good
mate.
good to jump back on.
Yeah, of course, mate. I mean, it's been ages, so good to
Yeah,
talk to you again, mate. So.
yeah,
Look, I guess we better kick off where we left off. So, fifth, I believe I had Jaden Short, and you had Sicily at fifth as well. So,
yep.
uh, I guess if anyone's not didn't watch part one, but now watching part two, we'll quickly go over just really quick our order so far. So, both our honourable mentions are Sinclair and Luke Ryan. The top eight I've gone through so far is Nick Martin at eight, Hayden Young at seven, James Sicily at six, and Jaden Short at five. What has been 8 to 5 for you,
Yep.
Dazzler?
So I've had Wanganeen Miller in eighth, Houston in seventh. I had Nick Martin yet to, of course, get the defender midfielder DPP, but no doubt he will in his current role. And then Sicily as well in fifth spot.
Lovely. Well, let's head straight into fourth. At fourth spot for me, Dazzler, I have got Dan Houston from the Port Adelaide Football Club.
Ooh.
So I did say that I was going to mention him a bit later. I've now got to that stage. So I've got him fourth. I know you had him seventh, I believe. So I've actually gone a little bit of an increase into what he's capable of. So I guess sort of the thought process here is I think he's the kind of bloke that can really hurt you. Like there can be some mammoth scores out of Dan Houston that, and I guess I'm sort of banking on myself that those 40s and 60s that are dropping will be 70s instead, that sort of thing. There's not really any logic to this, it's just pure vibes, but I've just got a feeling that Dan Houston will just be very similar to what he was last year. And oh no, sorry, have a better year than he did last year. I think he's the main distributor at Port Adelaide. Like there's no Riley Bonner who's going nuts at St Kilda now. So yeah, I mean Riley Bonner wasn't really getting a game, but just thought I'd throw that name out there. So look, I've got Dan Houston there at fourth. So yeah, I don't know. I think he'll go all right. How about you? Who's fourth?
Yeah, well, exactly. I think a lot of the research that we do, it's obviously helps us like all the stats and stuff to sort of back up and validate our selections. But I think there is some degree, you speak of vibes there, and I think you still got to go on gut and vibe feel because
Yeah,
that's kind of, that's the other part of Supercoach, sort of behind the scenes. As content
yeah,
creators, we have inklings as well of players that
yeah.
I think are going to go well. So yeah, that totally flies. That totally flies with me. But it's funny as well that conversely, you've said that you've obviously gone with Houston a bit higher up than me, and the man that I've gone for in fourth spot is actually a little bit higher than the one that you've gone for, and it's Hayden Young.
There we
So I
go.
reckon he's going to have an absolute blinder. And we spoke about it on our podcast, but we highlighted like his games from round 20 to 24 when he moved into that full-time midfield role, getting bulk CBAs. And in that span, he had 69 scores of 69, 123, 118, 113, and 111. And that 5 round average is a 106.8, which is 12.8 points over what his actual average is, which of course does combine those scores that he had when he was playing in defense. So I think around about a 106 to maybe pushing maybe a 110 at max is something that I'm anticipating from Hayden Young. And we saw what he was capable of doing when you mentioned Hayden Young in your ranking as well. Like kicked 2 goals, three in the preseason game against the Power, and ended up finishing with a score of 115 as well. So I think he can kind of range between around about 100 to 115, which would be very, very nice to see as owners. But yeah, he's in my fourth spot. Is a bit of a bolter.
He sure is, and I mean, I know we're taking buys very much into consideration, but even if the buys weren't a problem, I think a lot of people would have gone with this Hayden Young pick 1,000%. Moving into the midfield can only mean good things
Yeah.
for Hayden Young, and I think they need a kind of midfielder like that to help me with the mixture of Sarong and Brayshaw. So as we move on to number three now. I've got a sneaky suspicion that we could have a very similar top three.
Yep.
Um,
I think they're
and
going to be pretty much identical.
yeah, I think it might just be identical. So
Yeah.
number three, I have got Harry Sheezel.
Yep.
Yep, you do too. So
Lock him in. Yep.
I, I guess we can have a big discussion with Sheezel. I just think with I just think there's a lot of Nick Dacos about him.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be as good as Dacos, but I think the role, and I just think he can get to another level once again. I know there's blokes like Fisher and McKercher in there, but I just think once again they're going to keep feeding him the ball. He's going to get kick-ins. He knows the role very well. He spent basically most of the season as that seagull halfback. Doesn't have to worry about playing on anyone. So I think, and also North Melbourne are going with a faster game plan. I would say Sheezel is probably the fastest out of the two other seagulls that are there now with McKercher and
Mm.
Fisher. And also, I think I saw something early in preseason that he's worked on his tank to sort of just run out games better. So I think that's an even better
Yeah.
sign. So I think I saw something as well that he even lost weight to just be lighter around the ground and move quicker. So I think that's really positive for Sheasel. And yeah, I've got him in a third, and he's currently in my team. So there you go. This time last month, I didn't have him on my radar, but now I do.
Yep, I'm exactly the same as you. Like he wasn't even in consideration for me. He was like maybe a sort of in-season pickup, maybe down the line. But I think a lot of us as well, like speaking to that point, were a little bit fearful that maybe he was transitioning to the midfield full time and was going to lose that that favorable role where he's scoring so well, as that rebounding halfback. And it's amazing. That's kind of almost the theme for 2024, isn't it? Like there's all these guys here that are, transitioning back into or into, full time role of being that rebounding halfback with Nick Martin we speak of, potentially Amon from your mob, the
Yep.
Hawks, all of those sort of guys that can really
Max
potentially
Holmes
push up their average.
might be
Max
that.
Holmes, another one.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. He's another one that we could potentially talk about maybe on the cusp of a top eight defender status potentially if we revisit things down the line. But yeah, I think with Sheasel, um, just he provides that really high floor, I think, as well, that I really love about him. Like he had only 7 scores below 100 in 2023, which for a first year player is absolutely insane. Like that's sort of Michael Barlow levels back,
Yeah.
back in the day. And one of those scores as well was a score of 98. So you could probably say 6 of his full allocation of games were only below 100. So really good player. I was worried initially as well that, North Melbourne playing 3 potential halfback distributors in McKercher, Fisher, and Sheasel might prompt maybe Sheasel to spend a bit more time in the midfield. But I think regardless whether he plays, he's gonna score well. But hopefully he sticks around in halfback and does what he does best and continues on his merry way. But we saw today in that North Melbourne St Kilda game, Zach Fisher. He's another one. I don't think he's going to be top eight defender status, but when he does eventually get it, of course. But just hopefully he doesn't impinge upon Sheasel. I was a little bit worried watching the game. I thought maybe that might be occurring, but I think Sheasel, he's that sort of quality player that, yeah, he's we know what we're going to get with him, and well worth paying up for, I think, as a starting selection.
Absolutely. And I personally thought I didn't see too much of the game, but from what I saw, it didn't even look like Shazer was playing that great. But he still managed to
Mm,
score 102. And I think that's a really positive signs that even not on his greatest day, he can still get us 100. So that is very positive for Shazer.
yeah,
Now, I think I know what our top two is. It's just more about the order, but I've got a feeling the order won't change.
it'll be
So
the same. Yeah,
yeah, at number two, I've got Tom Stewart.
yep,
Yeah,
100%.
I think I think he can go pretty similar or even bigger with his average, just purely because of I think Geelong's midfield. I mean, gone are the days of their elite midfield. I think now it's looking. No offense, Cats fans, it's seen better days. You
Mm,
got Danger in there, like they've already got Jai Clark playing a lot of midfield minutes and Jack Bowes, not exactly Selwood, Jimmy Bartell, Cameron Ling, that sort of thing. So. I think that's going to mean that they're going to concede a lot of clearances. And I think Tom Stewart, I think some people are concerned about Max Holmes. I think to me, it's going to be more of a week to week proposition of them moving him around. Like I think there's a chance Max Holmes might be needed in the midfield or on the wing, depending on matchups.
Mm,
I think the halfback role is interesting for Holmes, but I don't think that's going to be a week to week thing. I think Tom Stewart, I mean, he took the practice game against Geelong fairly comfortably, and I'm perfectly
mm,
fine with that. We don't need 30 to 31-year-old Tom Stewart fully firing in a practice game. We just want him fully healthy for round one. And yeah, I believe he can do a 115, very similar to what he did last season. What did he do? 113.7. So I think he can go
mm,
a little bit better. People might be concerned about the age. I think it's not really that type of um his type of position's not really an age worry. Obviously, there gets to a point where he's going like if he's 33 years old, then you go a bit scary. But he's been pretty healthy over the past couple of years.
mm.
Still early 30s. And look, I'm not too concerned about Tom Stewart. I think he's in for a fantastic season. I mean, he got 113.7 last season, and remember in round one, due to
Mm.
the Ed Sheeran concert, uh, and of course I picked him in my starting team. Got injured round one, and yeah, hurt his knee, but he was back a couple of weeks later. So this average could be even higher. So yeah, I think Tom Stewart's in for a massive year once again, and yeah, he's second.
Yep. No, I agree there. And just that point as well, like because obviously the average accounts for that, includes that 18 that he scored in round one. Um, if you actually discount the injury game, his average lifts to 118.2. And if, that was the average, I guess we always call it like Liam and I talk about the true average when we discount these injury games. So if he was averaging 118.2, it means that he'd actually be priced above Dacos as the most expensive defender at approximately 660K. So to get him for 635.3 or whatever he is a complete bargain, I think, for what he can output. And last year, I think it was a career best for him, because a big part of his game is in terms of his intercept marking, and he averaged 3.4 a game, which was up from 2.8 in 2022. So again, just going from strength to strength, and I think what he can provide is just stability from week to week as well. So yeah, totally fine with him taking it easy, as he mentioned, over the preseason. Might make him a little bit of a pot. I'd like to see actually how many people jumped off, if any. But I know there was some people worried about his performance against Carlton, which of course I watched very closely, which he was kind of managed for minutes in, and then of course in this official preseason game as well. Which again, take it easy. Why take the Ferrari out, at full pelt on a dirt road? So yeah, we're going to see him purring like the cat that he is come round one.
Absolutely,
Couple of
mate.
analogies there for you.
Yeah, yeah, I like it. I like it. Yeah, I'm not great with analogy, so glad you got that in there. Yeah, yeah, we don't need Stewart. I believe at one point I saw him on 35%. So he's dropped it back a little bit. I think 29% is actually a bit disrespectful, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't say too much more because we want to keep it there. So uh yeah. And at number one, I mean, every man his dog now has got him, and I don't think it will come to much surprise. We have got William Edwards. No, no. We got Nick Dacos in at number one. We'll talk a bit about him, but there really shouldn't be too much surprise here. I think enjoy him while you can as a defender because
Mm,
that I mean, you never know. You could spend 35% in down back, but looks like they're playing a more full-time midfield, and he's just one of the best young players I've ever seen. And
yeah.
yeah, he's a joy to watch. Ripper bloke as well. So love myself Nick Dacos. I think he's still gonna sprint 50 meters to take kick-ins. There's going to be tags here and there. More often than not, he's going to be able to shrug them. Not many taggers can get with Nick Dacos. I think that was the concern this time last year, but no one could actually
Mm,
tag him. I think people are now thinking, oh, the tag might get to him now because of his last Supercoach game was the Hawthorn game with Finn McGuinness totally toweling up. So
mm,
yeah, there'll be times like that where he might not score the greatest. So he's probably more one of those where he's a great vice captain option just in case he does go nuts.
yeah.
Maybe a bloke you don't want to captain just in case there is a very heavy tag coming his way. But I think he can outdo. I mean, I'd love the want some once I've stopped rambling on here, I'd love to know actually the true average of Nick Dacos, because obviously we know he got injured in the Hawthorn game, scored a 41, and yeah, I just think he's easily the best defender, and just in Supercoach, and just enjoy him being a defender potentially for the last season. So pretty easy decision for me and for you, I assume.
No, well, I was going with what's his name? Will Edwards.
Yeah, William Edwards.
Yeah,
He's
didn't
playing.
even know that guy existed.
He's playing Seagull. I've heard. Yeah, they
He's
buggered
got
off Jake
loads of roll.
Woolley.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've 100% got Nicky Dacos. I'm actually surprised that he's 69% there, dinner for two, but 69% ownership there, which is interesting. I thought he'd be a little bit lower just because people might be scared off by that potential, or well, let's just say it outright. Finn McGuinness is going to tag him, but
Yeah,
I think a lot of people
69's
would
an
be
awkward
worried
number
about that.
there. So,
Yeah,
um,
going into the going into the bye, definitely awkward. Um, but yeah, I mean, people, I don't know if they saw the game against the Tigers, but have a look at the time on ground that he played. So it was 57%, and he scored 102.
yep.
So just over, I think it was about 2.5 quarters that he played, and he scored 102. Like, it's just
He wasn't
incredible.
even
Like,
playing that well either. He was just
no,
it was
cruising.
he was stuffing it up in the first quarter and still managed to get a
Yeah.
ton.
Yeah, just absolutely crazy. And Lee and I, we when we spoke about him in our Primo Defenders episode, we kind of broke down, like, because we're very stats heavy at Supercoach Edge. So for those people who don't like numbers, probably not for you, but it does provide a little bit of, peeling back the layers of the onion of Nick Dacos. And we're kind of weighing up between, like, what's the best role for him? Is it in defense or, in the midfield? And there's a little bit of a difference, but I think either way, you're kind of not phased because he's scoring quite well. But we ended up working out that in rounds 15 to round 20, when his CBAs were over 50%, and therefore playing as a virtual full-time mid, he has scores of 132, 149, 139, 130, 99, and 82. And that's for an average of 121.8. And then busted out, of course, the 131 in the grand final when he returned to the grand final and had 74% CBAs. Compare it to when he's playing off halfback in 14 games, and his average dropped, albeit to 118.2. So there's what's that, 3.6, rise in his average when he goes into the midfield. Not much, but I mean, who cares if he's averaging 118.2 playing off halfback, he'll take that every day of the week. But I think now, as you say, he's transitioning into the midfield almost full time, which, like I said, the 121.8 average, geez, he's going to be by far the most expensive. I reckon he's going to eclipse Bont, I reckon, come the end of the
Yeah.
year, potentially. And we're going to be looking back. Liam mentioned it in our podcast, but he mentioned he's like, to get Dacos at 650 is going to look like an absolute bargain, I reckon.
Yep.
And for anyone that isn't starting him, they're going to find it very, very hard to try and get him into your team. And I think that was part of the reason why initially I wanted to sort of go down that route. And then I slapped myself a couple of times across the face and said, no, wake up. It's Nick Dacos. He's an absolute superstar. And very rarely, I don't think, like, he might drop in price a little bit after he gets tagged by Finn. But I reckon just knowing what he can produce from week to week, doesn't matter where he plays, he's going to score, and he's going to score well. So it's going to be so hard to try and jump on him, especially early in the season as well. I think people banking on him being at a lower price point isn't really going to be helpful unless you're going into the season with an extra 150K in your bank, which you're not going to be doing. By that stage, your cash cows aren't going to have, gone up in price enough for you to then cash them in and
Yep.
use that money to then upgrade to Dacos. So I think people are going to be chasing their tail a fair bit if they don't start Dacos. And yeah, that kind of just sums up how much love I have for the guy, which is quite hilarious considering I'm a Carlton supporter. Talking so favorably about a Collingwood man, but yeah, he's a superstar.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, you showing this much love to a Collingwood player with all those Carlton posters in the background and
Yeah,
people.
exactly.
Hilarious. But
I had to quickly take off the Nick Dacos one that's next to Cripper
yeah.
there.
Just yeah, no, look, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that point as well, because with Nick Dacos, so like for people, and I was very much the same with you. Early days, I was on that boat as well of going, I can grab this bloke later. There's no problem.
Yeah.
There's no guarantees though about him actually dropping in price. And
Mm.
what if McGuinness gets hurt round two? Like, because I know a lot of people aren't going to start with him because, oh, Finn McGuinness might tag him round four and then he's got the bye. All right, All right, let's say that happens. He gets
Mm,
tagged by McGuinness in round 4. All right, he drops a 60. All right. Uh, then he's got the buy. Okay, cool. You got what you wanted. What's the plan then? Because you're going to
yeah,
wait extra games for him to drop in price. Well, he could be
spot
playing
on.
bloody West Coast. Like,
Yeah.
I, that's the thing where I think just save your mental health about trying to get this bloke in and just start with him. If it happens, it happens. Big deal. You've got Nick Dacos. That's one game, and then they play Hawthorn later in the season. But what uh, that's round 19 when upgrade season's done. So don't worry about it. So yeah, I reckon just save the stress and just grab Nick Dacos, I think. For anyone still considering that option, look, you can do whatever you like. We're not here to tell you how to play the game. Just with our recommendation, I think it would save you guys a lot of stress picking Nick Dacos at the end of the day. If it pays off not picking Nick Dacos and you could be one of the 21% without him and you're laughing. But look, I
Mm.
think just go with the crowd with this one. So yeah, look, so on the screen there is from our top 8. We've got 9 players here. So I believe 7 of our top 8 is the same players with one
Yep.
differential. Uh, um, Dazzler picking Nazaya Wanganeen Miller in that top 8, and I've gone Jaden Short in there. So look, I think that's all she wrote. So Dazzler, thank you so much for jumping
No
on the
worries.
channel. Love your work at SuperCoach Edge. You do a fantastic job, and thank you so much for jumping on. Good to collab with each other.
Pleasure, mate. Pleasure. I don't know if I should call you by a different name as well because you're obviously Steve-O. But I don't know. Go with Steve-O, I think. But SDS.
Yeah.
I have to think of another alternative name. But no, thank you so much for the invite, mate. Really do appreciate it. And again, genuinely love what you do and the passion that you show in the stuff that you create on your channel is absolutely fantastic and good to see. And anyone again tuning in, jumping across from our channel, tuning in today, check out and make sure you subscribe to Steve-O, SDS SuperCoach's stuff, because again, incredible stuff, incredible fella as well, an absolute gun in the community. And yeah, again, thank you so much.
Stop it, I'm blushing. So, uh,
Rosy cheeks.
well, while he's getting me excited, look, you got to make sure as well that you jump on Supercoach Edge and also subscribe. And they obviously do fantastic stuff, really in depth, really statistical in a great way. Uh, Dazzler and Liam both do just such an amazing job. So make sure you jump on their channel and give them a follow on Twitter, Supercoach Edge, and also on YouTube, Supercoach Edge. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.
Cheers, man.
One.